Fantasy Philosophers is brought to you by fantasy-info.com.
Brandon Jacobs was probably the second biggest bust in fantasy football last season. I think the only guy that in my mind that was a bigger bust than him was probably Matt Forte, and that was because Matt was usually drafted higher than Brandon in most leagues. With Brandon, obviously in 2008, he put together a fabulous touchdown total. I believe it was 15 touchdowns that season. The Giants were still obviously a very solid team. But, even that season, if you look back at his numbers, because of health issues that he tends to miss games, he didn't even have 1,100 yards rushing. He had, 1,089 yards even that season. So really, he's not the type of guy that even in a good year, we can say, is going to be out there racking up a ton of yards, making 1,400 yards or plus. Not that kind of guy. He's the kind of guy that's steady in his yardage, and he's going to make those big touchdown totals. Last year, he was very bad. He didn't get 1,000 yards. He didn't get close to that. And he only had, 5 rushing touchdowns on the season? That's just not getting it done for a guy that needs to thrive on the touchdown to be a really successful fantasy option for your team. This offseason, obviously, he had the knee injury all last season. He was playing through that. This offseason, he says he's feeling a lot better. We'll see how that knee holds up. I'm still concerned. I mean, remember, this guy is, 265 pounds on paper, which means he's probably bigger than that. As most teams, they tend to, move around the size, your weight, and your how tall you really are. I think he's about 6'4". So this is remember, this is a very big guy. It's abnormal. It is not normal to see a guy this type of size as a running back, and especially a starting running back on a team. But we're not used to seeing this, and I just wonder if because he's so big, he is definitely an easy guy to see defenders to whack on, and get a piece of, and I just wonder that, obviously he's, again, even in his good years, he's missing games for you. So that's definitely something you have to consider. You're going to have to live with times where he's not going to be in the lineup. And because of that, a guy like Ahmad Bradshaw, his backup is a necessity to probably have, or you need to have a good option on your depth chart that you can go to if Jacobs, or if and when Jacobs does go down even this season. Overall, I think he will have a better bounce back season. The Giants still do have the third hardest schedule against the run, so I'm not giving him a pass here overall. I know I've seen some boards out there where they've had him still in the top 20 fantasy backs to take. I think that's too high for what's the kind of season that he put up last year, and that we just don't know when he gets into those, once he starts hitting defenders, and this is the point I wanted to make about the knee injury earlier, is that when he starts hitting defenders and he starts banging it, you start getting into the real games and things, we'll see how that knee really feels. That's the thing that I want to see, is how does that knee really hold up when you get into those situations in games, because that's a different story, obviously. So with Jacobs, I still think he can return to double-digit touchdowns, but I don't know if he can really get to 1,000 yards rushing again. So you need to keep that in mind. Obviously, in touchdown-heavy leagues, he has more value. In yardage leagues that are heavy yardage, then he's not going to have as much value. We've got him in the top 25 running backs this year, and I think that's fair for the season that he had last year, the concerns that I still have with him, and the health concerns that he's shown throughout his career.
For more fantasy football information, go to fantasy-info.com and sign up for our free e-newsletter. Good luck in your 2010 Fantasy Football League. As an added bonus, the Fantasy Info guys will include their 5 secret tips for success in fantasy